from there.
I'm Emma.
I'm Mariusz.
And we're Z Moves.
I'm the Z.
And I'm the E.
Okay.
We didn't find it.
Yes. Yeah, I was kind of curious how the Z came into it, but
because my name ends with an Z. And Emma's name starts with an E. Yeah. And we thought it would be like Z.
We also just have a lot of Z's in our names.
Emma has a Z.
There you go.
Got the Z in.
Makes it
awesome. It's catchy. Like the logo too.
We just put this up yesterday.
We did.
I know, I saw that. Totally stalking you the last like 24 hours. It's all good.
The circle's not quite perfect.
It's not perfect at all.
We'll get there.
What's perfect? This is Instagram. Like, people honor authenticity over perfection.
Exactly. I was like, I think I'm going to leave it as a slightly imperfect circle because I think
that's a good metaphor.
It's a good metaphor, yeah.
I concur. Nice. So how long have you guys been running Z Moves for?
So we've been doing this since 2018, but it was kind of exploded at the beginning of the pandemic because essentially we wanted to teach online. Mm-hmm. Ironically, so we had been just kind of doing the back end and setting our business up for like a year by the time the pandemic hit, and then we were kind of set to go on March 16th.
Wow.
So yeah, we've been teaching at a lot of different studios in New York for like 7 years or so, and we just wanted to do something different and play with the relationship of money and how that plays with Pilates, and how I really believe that money is like a representation of energy, and how we as teachers can exchange energy in a different way.
Yes.
So we came up with our sliding scale system. I think a lot of like the other industries in the within the wellness industry use a sliding scale, but you don't see it very much, or at least you didn't really see it very much until the pandemic. So it's kind of almost like a think tank in a way to just mess up our relationship and reconsider money and Pilates, because Pilates is really expensive. I don't think I could have. Yeah, I don't think I could have ever afforded it. At least not in New York if I hadn't invested in the teacher training. Because then once you could mentor with like a ton of people for free, just take the class.
Yeah. That's interesting though. Like, I love what you're saying about just that accessibility piece to it, and the way that you put that out there. I'm coming from the counseling field. I understand sliding scales, right? Because it's more important that you connect with someone and help them than you get paid. But you have to get paid because you have an infrastructure, whether it's a lease, property, software, all those different things. So you have some real life expenses, but you don't want that to be a barrier to entry for people. So sliding scale is what is done in the counseling field a ton, but it's not done in the Pilates world. So what does that look like exactly for you guys? For those who are listening who are like, don't even understand what a sliding scale is, like, do you have a set number and then it's a relative thing, or do you just kind of say pay what you can? Like, how do you set that up?
We, on our website, and like, I want to bring it more around our Instagram, but we just do a lot of educating about like what exactly that means. And for a while we had like a straight up like income chart on our page, and was like, if you make this much, you should be paying this much. And if you but then there's also other considerations, right? Like, maybe you're going through a health thing at the moment and you need to go lower on the scale, even though your income might be a little higher, or a million other things. So now we've kind of created it more into tiers. So we have people kind of at the higher tier paying the support, who kind of support the lower paying tiers.
Yes.
And then we have like the middle tier, which is the actual price.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny. Like Tosh and I were just talking about that yesterday, and just having one group support the other group, and there's so many different ways that that can look, but that's exactly it. And it's so funny. That reminds me, you're in Minnesota, right? So I worked at Lifetime, and I know that's like the mecca for Lifetime with their head office and stuff. But it's interesting how even with them having not necessarily sliding scales, but you look at demographics and then you figure, okay, well, if you're paying this, you should afford to pay this. But there's so many different moving parts to that. And two examples that I saw working at Lifetime, one was in Utah, where they put a location and they look at the demographics and they say the average salary is X amount because people are professionals or doctors, engineers, all those different things. But what they don't take into consideration is the fact that they may have 7 children, 5 children, 4 children. So that $100,000 salary, when you have 5 mouths to feed, doesn't go. Sorry, I just got spam phone call there. So you don't get, your money doesn't go as far, right? Or what happened in my area, they put one in Ajax, Ontario, and that used to be like the Oshawa big factory, and people were getting paid really good money there. And then the factory closed. So the house price is still $1 million, but people aren't making enough money to even pay for their house anymore because if the factory's closed. So you can have a set number and you could figure that that's going to work for a sliding scale, but that doesn't really take into consideration the real realities of what people are going through. And that was like a long-winded way to set up the fact that you guys have done such a great way of building community and understanding where people are really at, more so than a number, right?
Yeah.
Well, we started building the community with that sliding scale in Brooklyn. We wanted to make because we, as Emma said, we worked in Manhattan, so the prices are like high up there for reformer classes or for my classes. So when we lived in Brooklyn, we wanted to give to the community, and we started a sliding scale community class on Wednesdays in our living room.
Yeah.
And we had one person, 2 people, then we told our neighbors, and eventually we had up to 7 people in our living room in Brooklyn. And I was like, that's not going to work anymore.
No. Yes. Yeah.
So we moved into a community place for kids called Kitty Science.
Okay.
And we rented the space there, and we brought in people from around that community as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of different in person though, like implementing the sliding scale in person and online.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Then the pandemic.
I mean, yeah, the pandemic changes a few things, but I'm sure one of the things that should stay the same is who like your ideal client is, like who your avatar is, so to speak, in that sense. So who would you guys say is like your ideal person, the person you would absolutely love to train, work with, kind of cultivate in your group?
We talked about this yesterday.
I think we don't like hierarchy, so it's like really hard to answer this question.
Okay.
We like work with like a marketing mentor, I would say, and they asked us
She's
this,
like yeah, they're just trying to pin you down on it. Yeah.
Like, and I still don't know if I can answer that question, but I think just anybody who's willing to learn, do inner work as well as like the outer work, and I know we do have some dancers, which I really enjoy working with, but that's like Pilates teacher.
So dancer, let's flesh this out. Let's flesh this out.
What'd you say?
I said, let's flesh this out. So it's a dancer type person. Someone wants to do the inner work.
She's writing it down.
Go on. Yes.
Well, we had this other marketing person, our friend Greg from Canada, actually. And he was like, you got to find your niche. You got to find your niche.
I agree.
So
yeah.
We're talking about, I think it's easier to talk about what people we don't want in our classes.
Sure.
I don't want to say what we don't want in our classes, but we want everybody in our classes.
Okay, so do you want some bodybuilder guy who comes in thinking that Pilates is their ticket to get 6-pack abs? No.
I mean,
okay, so
not really. If they want to like articulate their hip joints, sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I can try to explain that to them. It depends. If they're movable, yeah.
Yeah.
If they just
Yeah.
want the six pack abs, no.
If it's
I will
about
get really, really bored.
if it's about looking, no. If it's about feeling, sure.
Right. So someone who just like walks in and I just want to get bikini ready.
No.
No. No.
I'll have a really hard time.
Yeah.
We work.
I'll give that person
We,
to someone else.
we worked like we had like 20,000 students like that, and when we worked in studios, so
Mhm.
it's hard to work with people that have this mentality of like, I want to look good, I want a calf, or I want this
A
oblique.
calf?
Yeah.
I want a calf.
Yes.
So I had a client. She's like, I want better calves. I'm like, okay.
Here's a surgeon. Like, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
it's
Well,
like
and
hard to like I don't know. That could be anybody who's interested in feeling their body and learning more.
Mhm.
It's hard to like make a stereotype around that.
Right, right.
Because it could be an office person, it could be someone who like dances for their profession, or it could
Mhm.
be someone in construction, or
Yeah.
An artist.
Okay.
it could be anybody.
So, well, okay, so let me paint a picture for you then. So you have someone who hears about you guys, is just got a contract to dance professionally, but has never done Pilates before. And they've seen and heard that people do Pilates all the time, and they maybe done it like once as a kid, and then they find you. Is that the type of person that you totally salivate when you hear that they're coming to work with you? Or is that
Oh
the
yeah,
person where
because
you're like,
then they're like a fresh page, right? They don't have
right?
all these like ideas. Yeah, so someone who doesn't, you're good.
So that's that. Would you not say that is your ideal client?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that.
Okay, because the reason why I say it like that is because even though that's your ideal client, the reality is that you're going to see that person maybe 20% of the time. Like you may have a roster of 100 people, and maybe even just five of them might be that ideal person, and then you have general population people for the rest of the time. But that's the person that excites you the most.
Right.
As much as you love everybody, and I'm the same, like I love working with absolutely everybody, but if someone says, oh, my husband wants to work with you because he doesn't believe in Pilates, but he saw your pictures and I told him that he has to show up, I'm like, let's go, right?
Yeah,
Because like
let's kick his
I'm
butt.
well, and that should not even kick his butt because he may be like he's a guy who like rides with his buddies on the weekend and
Right.
plays hockey in the weekend, like in the winters and stuff. So he may be active and doesn't realize that Pilates is the missing link for what he's doing. That excites me. So as much as I could have like people trying to get their body back after having their kids, or like someone who just wants to be healthy, or someone wants to fix their back, the second I have that like 40 something weekend warrior executive guy who works out but has never tried Pilates, I'm like, let's go, right? That's my person. So I may see one of those guys a year, but that's my ideal person. So in the same way for you guys, maybe it is that dancer that doesn't know what Pilates is that now finds you guys, whatever, right? So you'll have everybody, but that's who your world stops for. And that's the person that you want to build more of, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. There's,
Absolutely.
there's a comment here. I just want to catch it. It's a little in the glare. It has happened to me. A lot of people is motivated by how they look, but change their mind after a month. They feel strong and mucho motivated in health. Yeah, it's so funny. And that's the other point I was going to make too is as Pilates people, trainers, fitness people in general, there's always a sweet spot between giving people what they want and giving them what we see that they need,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that guy walks in and says, I want bigger calves. And you're like, okay, that's awesome, but you have no thoracic spine mobility. So
Right.
I'm going to give you a little bit of that and we're going to get some calf raises in for you too, right? So you kind of just find that spot.
Well, yeah, and your strong calves are going to help your thoracic mobility. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's part of
they
the
might not,
education that, yeah.
yeah, they might not
Mm,
realize that, but that's workable. Very
yeah.
workable.
Yes. So yeah, so that's fun. So I mean, we talk about a lot about that. It's just finding that point of like recognizing what people need and what they want, and how do we give them what they need while appeasing them, giving them what they want, right? Because they're paying for what they want. That's the reality of it, right? Hmm. So what does your week look like right now? Like how many, are you running like a lot of virtual classes, privates? Like how, like what's the flow of your week with your classes?
Why do we have like
12.
12 virtual classes and then in between those doing privates.
Hmm.
Um,
We have these half-hour classes at noon, at 12:30
yeah,
New York time.
called Work Shit Out.
Called Work Shit Out.
Nice.
Like a 30-minute lunch class.
Okay.
Monday,
Yep.
Tuesday,
Most of our
Wednesday,
classes are like,
Thursday.
they're like intermediate advanced because a lot of the people have been working with us for a while. So, like,
Yes.
a while. So, we're kind of working on threading in some beginner classes.
Mhm.
We have a workshop coming up next month. We're going to do every Saturday for beginners because I love teaching beginners, as we just
Yes.
discussed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, Even though I also love teaching the making like new things all the time for our clients,
Yes.
every single class. Um,
Mhm.
what else are we doing? We
Oh,
have
we have this
some.
class on Wednesday evening.
Oh, we just added a new class called Flow in the Dark.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had it's like Zoom, it's same Zoom, but we just have everyone like lower the lights a little bit, and it's
Okay.
a little less like technical verbiage from. I'm teaching class, so it's a little less technical verbiage for me, and a little bit more like integration and just moving
Hmm.
the body, and also we do a lot of like um,
Actually,
eye exercises, just relaxing the eyes.
Okay. Nice. Very cool. Do you have a
yeah,
lot
good.
of guys that join your classes? A lot of men?
I have a few privates.
Hmm.
They feel comfortable coming to me because I'm a man. They're like, yeah, I will work with you in the private
Yes.
setting, but
Yeah.
we don't.
I know classes too.
But in our classes, we have like what, 5? Yeah, we have a bunch of guys
Cool. Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
Um, Now that's also, in their own home, they feel comfortable just being like, I'm gonna roll my mat and
Yes.
see what it's like. And
Nice.
when we teach classes, when Emma teaches, I show the exercises
Hmm.
on the mat, or when I teach, she shows the exercises so people
Very
can also
cool.
see it. Um,
Yes.
but going back to the Wednesday class, we wanted to put something out there that doesn't involve like seeing so much, just like hearing,
Yes.
feeling it. And we
Right.
wanted to be like, how do we wake up those sensory, senses in other clients, in our
Yes.
clients,
Right. Right. Right.
We don't have
Yes.
touch.
since we can touch.
Yeah.
Good.
That's exactly it. I, I I love that challenge as an instructor to say, okay, well, how do I sharpen my verbal cues? And I'll do that from time to time too. When I'm teaching a class, I'll just try and just sit here the whole time. Like I'll say to myself, okay, don't get on the mat and demonstrate it. Let's see if you can get them to do a whole class with just your words. Find it and take your time with it and stuff like that, right? So we're sharpening our skills at the same time we're sharpening their senses. So yeah, that's very cool.
Pre-pandemic, were you showing or?
From time to time. I always like to just. I mean, everyone learns differently too. So when I was is a result of these conversations when Brett Howard was on, and we were talking about teaching. He was saying the first thing he asks people or himself is, what kind of learner is this person? Like, what kind of learners do I have in the room? So then it's not just I'm going to go to my default demonstrated exercise, get my hands on, pull, circle, watch this sort of thing. Kind of get a read on the people and then go to what their default is instead of what my default is. So that's really challenged me to think about the way that I teach. So I don't necessarily go to one over the other unless I'm trying to really work something out, which sounds weird. Like on their time, I'm trying to work something out for myself, but like I'm trying to like get my words a little sharper so they can move without words, or like or just demonstrate stuff so they can whatever it is. So it's always just, I feel like we should always be getting sharper as teachers, and if it means that I need to work on my verbal cues, I'll work on my verbal cues. If I need to work on my tactile cues. Well, next time I'm in person, then I'll work on my tactile cues, or that sort of thing. So we'll just flow with it, whatever people need.
Yeah, I love that exchange.
Hmm.
That's pretty cool. Um, yeah, because then also on the other side, you also want to like use, maybe you want to show to challenge the client to
Yes.
do something that they're maybe not used to. Maybe they're not a visual learner, and maybe that's like their learning edge.
Hmm.
Maybe they're a
Absolutely.
visual learner and we're using so many words that they're just like, okay, what? Show me, I'll do it.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
visual
Exactly.
learner, so I know oftentimes, and I'm from Poland, so it's difficult. And not anymore, but to just like at the beginning, it was difficult to just be like, I just show it to me. I don't want to hear it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's tiring, right? If you're trying to keep translating in your head. And
Right.
and the other part to it too is like you're saying, Emma, about the visuals. That also shows people where the exercise is going. So you could show them, quote unquote, the gold star of an exercise that they're working through right now, so that they can aspire to getting there in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes for them to get there. Like, that looks great today. This is where we're going with this exercise. And then they can work towards something as well. So there's so many benefits to each, modality of teaching. I'm just reading through a couple of comments here. There's one from Insight Pilates earlier that said, love that sweet spot. I use that phrase all the time regarding alignment and orientation. Love that Pilates customizes the training for the body in front of us. And then there's another comment down here from Root Reach Pilates. It says, very cool to have two people on the teaching end, one to watch the clients and to demonstrate. That's the dream.
We're so
That
lucky.
is a luxury. Yeah, I know, honestly.
It is.
You guys are so. Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see, I mean, um, when I was talking with Tracy Belcher from Plate, when she was saying that with the best of, congratulations, by the way, on your nominations on the best of Plate's
Thank you.
thing. You guys are really, really loved. Like, she was saying that the amount of feedback from your clients and people who follow you online and stuff, like, you just have such a great community. You can see your love for people and your passion for your work. It just like bleeds through in everything that you guys do. So it's very cool.
What was I gonna say?
Something about being important to meet our clients where they're at.
I lost my train of thought.
That's good. I'll just keep talking.
I had a good one, but I don't know.
No, well, so what would you say, like, what is the key for building community? Because I feel like we get so caught up in the business side, like we need to get clients and sell and just grow our business. But you really have taken this build a community approach, like we said right at the outset about that exchange of money and really giving. So what would you say for those who are watching is kind of your key to building a community?
Well, because we have our advisor, Ambika. We sat down with her one time on our couch and we're like, so she's like, what do you care about? And so we started talking about how we care about equality and how we care about people getting what they need, and how that kind of ties into politics and activism.
Yes.
And that
We always talk
people really
about
connect with that. Sorry. People really connect with that.
Yes, they do.
And some people will drop out of your list, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
If we had people leave, never come back, write us messages like, why would you put the word Biden on Instagram? Why would you want to donate to Georgia? Why would you want to be involved in Senate run?
Oh yeah. Some people were like that. This
I saw that.
is not your place. Ooh,
Yeah.
kicking my water over. But
Yes.
but I think way more people were really excited, and people don't have a lot of time to like take care of themselves and then also like take care of the world at large. So when we fit the two together, that really excites people and is motivating for them to take care of themselves.
Yes.
So it's been really cool, and I'm so glad that we decided to take that angle way back in what was that, like July or
Yeah.
August.
It's
Um,
it's courageous. Like I commend you for that because it's in one way you could look at it as polarizing because you're saying you're either with us or you're not. But then
mhm.
another way, it actually is solidifying your core of people. And then you really have people of like mind within your community that goes out, right? So I saw that you did that for Georgia for the voting and you're having these political stances that it is a real risky move for your business in a good way, right? So um, yeah, and like that's what I'm saying. Emma was saying there, it can make people feel excluded for sure. That's what I'm saying about being polarized. So it's interesting taking that stance, but then I'll give you an example. What's happening at the flip side of that is that you see, in our kind of Pilates world right now, that the situation with Nikki Taylor Stewart Grayson and being separated from her mentor, and the mentor saying, okay, Deborah Lesson saying, I need to separate you from my products and my business and saying because she's taking a stance for the institutional racism that's happening in our Pilates space, right? So when you take a stance on that, obviously it's going to have to, it makes it a little bit polarizing in that sense that yes, you can feel a bit excluded, or you could build a stronger core, and everyone has to land on one side of it, right? And yeah, that makes it difficult. So kudos to you for taking that stance. It builds your core stronger. If you're on the right side of history, you are. If you're not, then you also have to live or die by the sword. So I mean, we see these things happening on both sides right now, and it's
Yeah, that
tough, right?
that gets diluted. You know, it's easy to make a brand that's like, welcome, hi, we're going to do core exercises. Let's go.
Yes.
And it's harder to be true to yourself. I mean, it was hard for me to be like, okay, well, what do I believe in? I believe in people getting better, healing from movement and from connecting their brain with their body.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, well, it's to us, it's just like I think we were just picturing it really holistically. Like, I want everybody to have access to healthcare. The last administration was really stressful on everybody's body. I think it was
Mm.
stressful on my body at least, and I think I think all bodies are political, and um, there's really no way to remove yourself from um, the politics. So we just pulled it in. We also were really lucky because all of our clients were from Lower Manhattan. So you said it was a big risk. It really
Yeah.
wasn't. Like, only
Right. Right.
like one client fired themselves. So it was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's still, I mean, think of all the money that you could have got, right? Like, I mean, there's a sense if you were that greedy for it and you're making your stance based on where your money is, you've basically just excluded a whole population of people that could have invested in your business.
Mhm.
To which you kind of shrug your shoulders because there's people who actually do support you that do believe what you believe. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not. I don't know. I'm just not bummed that I'm missing on those opportunities. I don't think I would have said yes to them anyways.
Mhm.
So I think it's really important where the money is coming from. So
Lisa Reed says we must be authentic.
yeah,
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I was saying on your Google form when I filled it out. Uh, when you think of your business strategy, you have to you have to put yourself in that business strategy. I think we're moving in a time. I mean, we're moving away from larger institutions and into more of like a place where individuals can be more authentic and building community,
Creative.
just like what you're doing. And
Yes.
um, I think the more that we can put ourselves in our business strategy, the more successful we're going to be, the more authentic it's going to be, the more heart
Mhm.
centered it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you also said creative, right? Like, can you talk about the creativity piece?
Hmm. Oh, the creativity piece,
Yes. Yes.
like in the programming.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just get excited.
Programming. I always used to think I wasn't creative. And then
Yes.
at one of the studios, they're like, I mean, you need to like take the creativity down. Like, you're
Really?
too creative. You just need to like
Yes.
make it more simple.
That's too
But
funny.
Or when you teach a class, something's like, "Oh, that was just so basic," and I tell her, "I was like, no, that was basic for you. That doesn't mean it was basic for everybody else."
Yeah, yeah. It's like scale
Go
it back one
so
more.
basic.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel I resonate with that because there's times I didn't think of myself as creative at all, but then once you're when you're operating out of your passion, your area of passion, you're just like, oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do this. Oh, look, the people can do this. Let's see if you can do this too, right? Like, you know what we need? We need a class in the dark. You know what we need? We need a class like, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. I think that just ties into authenticity. Like you're not muting yourself, you're not censoring who you are, and you're just flowing with it. Um, Emmett's comment there, we can also be creative and authentic and heart-centered without bringing politics into the studio. Yeah,
you can, you can.
you can. Yeah, you can. And you know, that's a whole greater dialogue about like, you know, in basketball, that shut up and dribble sort of thing, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
you can use that platform to speak to issues, or you can just use that platform to just, you know,
Right.
celebrate your talents and just leave it alone, right? Like, how
Both are
do we
both are important.
both are important and both have space, right? Like I think that there's people, NBA is a perfect example. There's a lot of guys that have great influence that don't touch politics at all, and then there's others who throw their neck on the line like every day while, you know, doing their thing, right? So I think that there needs to be space for both. And then, and yeah, at least it's pointing there, anti-racism. That's a comment I was going to make earlier. There's a great Malcolm X quote where he's saying that anti-racism work and the racism that we see in the United States specifically, it's in North America, it's in Canada as well, but like in Malcolm X's quote, he was saying that racism isn't a United States thing, it's a humanitarian thing. So if you want to look at it from the basic principles of humanity, that's a violation against humanity. That's not just a violation that's happening geographically in the United States. And that's why it's something that we need to speak to and to have a voice on and to be on one side or the other with, because it's a humanitarian issue, right?
Mm.
So I think that, you know, to Lisa's point there, yes, it's one thing to be quiet on a political stance if you want to on healthcare or whatever it is, but when it comes to an actual humanitarian issue like racism, that's when it is important to have a voice. But you
Mm-hmm.
can't just be silent and complicit and just be like, well, good luck for them, right? Like you can't, like that's really not true to, you know, if we're working with bodies and wanting people to be healthy, it's tough to, you know, that's why you see so much in the fitness industry on the issue of racism, because it's at that intersection. Like we can't help people just get bigger calves without dealing with the issues of their heart, without
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the issues within their whole body, right? It's a whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pain is I've been learning more and more over the years that really, like, especially chronic pain, things that come up over and over again is often just like emotions that are stuck in your
Yeah.
body. So that's really important. That's why we almost start every class with like a body scan just to check
Mm-hmm.
in with the body and how you're feeling, and taking a second to transition from like the craziness of like this 5 screens you're on, and lying down and just feeling what's there.
Yes. So key. Yeah,
So so important.
that is so important. Okay, so and here's the next comment here. So if it's a whole ecosystem, are we helping people we disagree with or better? Um, um, and ask another like expand on that question. Like, I mean, I think that's a good question because I think that we need to be able to address that, but I don't fully understand what you're asking there. Um, but okay, are we meant? Well, okay, so are we meant to go with someone who agrees with them politically to do their Pilates? Well, I think that's our choice, right? Like, I mean, there's a sense of and for you guys, I mean, I can try and answer the question in my situation how I would deal with that. But for you guys, what do you do with someone who doesn't agree, who loves your work, but doesn't agree with your stance politically?
I mean, they're always welcome to come.
Hmm.
Um, uh, we haven't really come across it too much. So, um, I don't know, most people just kind of agree with us. But,
Hmm.
um,
The people that we cultivated, not the people that we're surrounding ourselves with, a few years ago. We had this revelation 3 years ago when we sat down and we talked to one another. Like, we just want people that um, bring us joy. So, what brings us
Okay.
joy?
Yes.
And we just, not just people that bring us joy, but people that are like toxic towards us or bullying
Hmm.
us or making us teach a certain way because it's their vision.
Hmm.
Like Emma said, in some studios, they would tell us that you're a little too creative. Just teach hundreds,
Yes.
or
I don't like in our
Yeah.
classes, we're not like political. Like, no one's like, we're not like, you must vote for this person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we don't really talk about that. Like, that's just our Instagram presence mostly, and our
Yes.
like people who are on our email list. But like
Hmm.
in our classes, there's not much mention of that. Although it's really nice to not have to censor what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Like, I can always just say what I believe, and no one is gonna like walk out of class.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, like, I would teach them the same way I would teach anybody else, which is
Hmm.
feeling from or moving their body from a place of sensation and feeling from the inside for outer expression, to quote Bartenieff fundamentals.
Yes.
These principles have been around for a really long time. There's
Right.
nothing new that I'm
Hmm.
teaching.
Right. So yeah, so the sense I'm getting from the comments is basically, what do you do with someone in your space that flat out just disagrees with you?
What do you
Someone
mean?
who just, you know what I mean? So like that's something that can happen. Like they love what you're doing, but then they see your post, like we see with the PMA, right? I mean, you could be a part of this organization and then realize that they're completely clueless, not necessarily PMA, but like an organization can be clueless on a situation. You have a completely different political or philosophical bent. Is someone who disagrees with you welcome in your space?
our doors are open.
Always.
If I mean,
Yeah.
there's difference between disagreeing and just being on the opposite side of the spectrum in a different world where you
Yes.
just are racist and you are, there's like white supremacy, Indian green. So I just feel like the doors are open for, I don't want to say like,
Mhm.
I don't know, enlightenment, but like,
Yeah, there just
It makes
needs to be
sense.
there.
Yeah, no, I hear it.
The only thing that they need is like I require is for a sense of openness. So if I'm open to what they're saying and if they're open to what I'm saying, I think we can find common ground somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. One of the lines that I've been saying in my debates with people, whether like I've had a few kind of back and forth exchanges with people privately based on a post that I put up about something. And I've landed this line a few times to say to them, you sound like you're more in love with your position than I am with mine. I'm willing to change on mine if you present an intelligent conversation on it, but you sound like you're really fixed in yours. So if you're not willing to move on your position while I'm ready to move on my position, then we're not really having a discussion anymore because you're just
Mm,
trying to win in this argument, whereas I'm trying to find understanding.
I love that.
So, and there's one conversation I've been having with someone where I had to pull back, I had to relent because they were right on coming from where they were coming from. And then the next time he posted something and it was like my turn to disagree. And then we went back and forth on it and then we landed something. So I respected the fact that we were both in it to have a dialogue about what we agreed and disagreed on. And one time I had to change my position and the next time he had to change his position because we weren't so in love with our position that we couldn't hear the other.
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to be coming from that place, unless it's something that's like clearly like flat out white supremacy or something like that. When there's something where there is validity to both sides, we can't be so fixated on it, especially when it's fitness. And like someone said, what if they just roll in wanting to lose weight? Like, to, like they don't care about any political position. They just want to just be in there just to just be healthy and to feel better. What then, right? But so those are things, and I think that comes back to ultimately for you guys respecting the authenticity of what you're doing and not censoring yourselves and being who you are in your space, and
Mhm.
at the same time being open to other people having the expression. Like, is it truly inclusive? Is it truly accessible? And is there true diversity in your space, or is it just like homogeneous? Right? So those are hard questions for us as studio owners and Pilates people to always be thinking about, right? So
Yeah. Well, and I think like we like to put everybody in boxes, like where we were like put our weight behind the new administration. Do I agree with everything they say? Was I excited that Biden got the nomination and like ended up being president? Like that wasn't like I wasn't super happy about that, but like that I just saw that that's where we were going to grow as a country, and for our little community that was what was best. So
mhm.
but like that doesn't mean that like everybody agrees still, like who's in that camp, you know?
Yeah,
like you were just having an argue with our he was having an argument with our friend Matt. We were going back and forth, and like you would think we were like have the same belief system, but like there's so much to discuss
yes.
um, and to grow from learning from each other from that discussion, even if that discussion like doesn't like it might not feel good. It doesn't always
Mhm.
feel good. Like sometimes it feels really crappy to have those discussions,
Right.
um, but that's what needs to those need to be out in the open now. I think like we can't
They
just be
do.
like hiding behind our little walls.
Right, for sure. Well, it's even like this conversation, like bring it into the here and now. Like it'd be so easy to just talk about a roll up in like hundreds all day,
Yeah.
but we're having this hard conversation about like how much do we talk about this stuff in our space, because there is the risk of exclusion,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there is the risk of not truly being inclusive in our space. And like, what I mean? So these are hard conversations that I think that we need to have as an industry in terms of like, what do we put out there?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I
good for
mean,
you guys. This is a
there, you know,
hard chat
our
to have, right?
industry needs to shift in some ways. And there's so many angles you could take to make those shifts happen.
Yep.
Um, whether it's like offering a, a free event or, introducing sliding scale or just having discussions in a space you normally wouldn't.
Hmm.
There's like so many ways,
Yep.
but we just have
Right.
to do what's not necessarily comfortable or what we're used to.
Right. Right. And that's my brother, by the way, Phil, is saying hard conversations with good energy should be welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah. So like, and this was a hard conversation to have, right? Like, because I think that um we shy away from this, and it really is something that we need to discuss. Because I mean, you two have a great following and you have great rapport with people, and you're building community in such a positive way that is making an impact. So good for you guys.
Yeah, you as well.
You as well.
Thank you. um, Thank you.
It's
I'm
great.
going to screenshot that. You guys want to smile real quick? Hey, there you go. Just because I wanted to get that comment about hard conversations with good energy should be welcome. Yeah, that's right. So Alexa, I agree. And Alexa has some great conversations on her page as well. If you follow Low Impact Fit,
Mm.
yeah, so she's doing some great work, and she's having some of those hard conversations as well. And I think that this is the time when more than ever those hard conversations have been welcomed, right? Like people are recognizing the fact that this is a season we're in where we have to ask those hard questions, and we should be welcome to have it. And even in this case, like when I did my networking thing on Friday, that guy that I had this debate with over the last 10 months was like maybe the second person I bumped into.
No.
And you know what I mean? So we had this chat and I said to him, like, I really respect the fact that we can go back and forth on stuff and then still continue to have a rapport. Like he messaged me the other day. He's like, how's your business going? What are you doing right now? Have you pivoted? And I'm like, how are you doing? He's like, fine, thanks for asking. And he closed out the conversation by saying, I grew up with brothers and sisters and we argued all the time, but it never really threatened the relationship because I knew there was always love there. And I was like, kudos to you for that. I mean, because I felt the same way. Like, I never really felt like our debates were a threat. They were just debates. But at first, I was like, I don't know where this guy's coming from. So I wanted to like come hard at him, but then he kept responding, and then I kept responding, and it was like, okay, this is like sport for us. I'm getting it. Like we're good, So yes, keep having those conversations. Like keep your energy up. You guys are doing a great job, and like I said, like I really do love your energy, and I love the fact that you are passionate about your people. And yeah, this is all good. Alexa, my brother is Phil. He's a Furbert up there on the handle there. So Phil Reed for those asking. So yes, that's 10:58, my friends. We just flew through that time.
Yeah, we really did.
It's crazy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Everything.
Yeah, I loved your. Who's your friend from India that was in the group on?
Yeah,
Akshata. Just like a Instagram friend,
Nice.
I can't remember how we really was it. I teach at Movement Research in New York, so and like when they went virtual, I think she like came into that class, and then our friendship blossomed. Really awesome person.
There you go.
She was here earlier too.
I saw that. Yeah, amazing. That's great. So love that. That's the beauty of our global Pilates community. We make those connections and stuff. So. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we're able to finally connect. And yeah, looking forward to working with you guys in the future. I'll definitely repost all of your workshops and things that you have going on. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Thanks, Martin.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to sign you guys off. Thanks so much.
Bye.